This is the first session of our Genesis reading plan. So I'm going to be reading to you Genesis chapters 1 and 2. And the reason that I'm reading it out, that I'm presenting it for people, is because I know that there are some people who find that reading and taking in what they're reading at the same time can be really difficult. It's also worth noting that actually our Bible has had a tremendous oral tradition, which means it was read to people, it was read aloud so that people heard the words. And in some ways, most of us find it far easier to hear words and understand them than to read words and understand them. I mean, we are listening to words all the time, whereas far less often we're reading them and having to work out what on earth is going on. So hopefully that this can be a tool that would be useful for people to listen to and enjoy maybe a bit more than having to slog through a really long reading. So I'm going to read through. Today I'm reading from the Life Application Bible for Students, which is apparently the Living Bible. There we go. I'm going to try and read through different translations so that you get a hear of maybe different versions, maybe one that you like more than others, and that way you can get used to hearing in different translations. So that's the one I'm going to do today, and I've kind of playfully entitled this one The Two Accounts. We'll think about why I've called it that. Genesis chapter 1. When God began creating the heavens and the earth was shapeless, a chaotic mess with the Spirit of God brooding over the dark vapours. Then God said, "Let there be light." And light appeared. And God was pleased with the light and divided the light from the darkness. He called the light daytime and the darkness nighttime. Together they formed the first day. And God said, "Let the vapours separate to form the sky above and the oceans below." So God made the sky, dividing the vapour above from the water below. This all happened on the second day. Then God said, "Let the water beneath the sky be gathered into oceans, so that dry land will emerge." And so it was. Then God named the dry land earth, and the waters seas. And God was pleased. He said, "Let the earth burst forth with every sort of grass and seed-bearing plant, and fruit trees with seeds inside of the fruit, so that these seeds will produce the kinds of plants and fruit from which they came." And so it was. And God was pleased. This all occurred on the third day. Then God said, "Let bright lights appear in the sky, to give light to the earth and to identify the day and the night. They shall bring about the seasons on the earth and mark the days and the years." And so it was. For God had made two huge lights, the sun and the moon, to shine down upon the earth. The larger one, the sun, to preside over the day. The smaller one, the moon, to preside through the night. He had also made stars. And God set them in the sky to light the earth and to preside over the day and the night, to divide the light from the darkness. And God was pleased. This all happened on the fourth day. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with fish of every kind. Let the skies be filled with birds." So God created great sea animals, and every sort of fish, and every kind of bird. And God looked at them with pleasure and blessed them all. Multiply and stock the oceans, he told them. And to the birds he said, let your numbers increase, fill the earth. That ended the 5th day. And God said, let the earth bring forth every kind of animal, cattle and reptiles, and wildlife of every kind. And so it was. God made all sorts of wild animals and cattle and reptiles, and God was pleased with what he had done. Then God said, let us make man, someone like ourselves, to be the master of all life upon the earth and in the skies and in the seas. So God made man like his maker. Like God did God make man. Man and maid did he make them. And God blessed them and told them, multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. You are masters of fish and birds and all the animals. And look, I have given you seed-bearing plants throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. And I have given all the grass and the plants to the animals and to the birds for their food. Then God looked over all that he had made, and it was excellent in every way. This ended the 6th day. Now, at last, the heavens and the earth were successfully completed, with all that they contained. So, on the 7th day, having completed his task, God ceased from the work that he had been doing. And God blessed the 7th day, and he declared it holy, because it was the day when he rested from his work of creation. Here is a summary of the events in creation, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, when the Lord God made them. There were no plants or grain sprouting up from the earth at first, for the Lord God hadn't sent any rain, nor was there anyone to farm the soil. However, water welled up from the ground at certain places and flowed across the land. There came a time when the Lord God formed a man's body from the dust of the earth, and he breathed into it the breath of life. And so man became a living person. Then the Lord God planted a garden in Eden to the east, and placed in the garden the man that he had formed. The Lord God planted all sorts of beautiful trees there in the garden, trees producing the choicest fruit, and at the centre of the garden he placed the tree of life, and also the tree of conscience, giving knowledge about good and bad. A river flowed from the land of Eden, and it flowed through the garden to water it. Afterwards, the river divided into 4 branches. One of these was named the Pishon. It winds across the entire length of the land of Havilah, where nuggets of pure gold are found. Also, beautiful bdellium and even lapis lazuli. The second branch is called the Gihon, crossing the entire length of the land of Cush. The third branch is the Tigris, which flows to the east of the city of Asher. And the fourth is the Euphrates. The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden as its gardener, to tend and to care for it. But the Lord God gave this warning: you may eat any fruit in the garden, except the fruit from the tree of conscience. For its fruit will open your eyes to make you aware of right and wrong, good and bad. If you eat its fruit, you will be doomed to die. And the Lord God said, it isn't good for man to be alone. I will make a companion for him, a helper to suit his needs. So the Lord God formed from the soil every kind of animal and bird, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever he called them, that was their name. But still, there was no proper helper for the man. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and took one of the ribs from his chest and closed up the place from which he had removed it. And he made the rib into a woman and brought her to the man. This is it, Adam exclaimed. She is part of my own bone and flesh. Her name is woman, because she was taken out of a man. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife in such a way that the two become one person. Now, although the man and his wife were both naked, neither of them felt ashamed or embarrassed. Okay, so we're just going to have a couple of quick thoughts at the end of our reading to maybe give us an opportunity to chew on a little bit more the text that we've just studied. So we've just had Genesis 1 and 2. There's loads to take in over the chapters. There's so much. There's things that will just stand out to you. I constantly come back to God saw that it was good. And then at the end of creation, God saw that it was exceedingly good. I love that. I love the idea and the image of God looking at the world and going, that is so good. I'm so happy with that. I've got to be honest, often I look at what I've made and gone, oh, heck, crumbs, what was I doing? But actually that might come a little bit later in our Genesis readings, God looking at it and going, what is going on there? The order of events changes. I called it a tale of two creations. That's because obviously I like The Tale of Two Cities, Dickens all the way, but also because it's quite difficult to read the two chapters together and not to say there's actually two different accounts here. Now, you may have a different theological feeling about the way that we should look at the Bible, and so for you it might not be a problem at all. You're like, no, Sarah, you're totally wrong. It's just one. It's totally fine. Argue with me. I love that. I love people being passionate about their particular bent. Just as long as we're discussing, constantly discussing. But for me, the order of the event changes. We've got in Genesis 1, we've got humanity as like the pinnacle of creation. And male and female, he created them together. That was done. And then in Genesis 2, it's at the start, and then he makes Adam, and then he makes all the creatures and he brings them to them, and then he makes Eve, and it's different. What do we think? What do you think? And then I can't help but mention the feminist that I am. Eve is Adam's helper. What do you think? What do you think? Helper. What does that mean? And I do have to also put a note in that the Hebrew word used there is only used again biblically to refer to God as a helper of humans. So, is it already subordinate? Interestingly, we see the women as being subordinate coming in as a product of the fall. So, what does that mean? And also, because it's going to be important tomorrow, when God speaks about what can be eaten, the fruit, and what can't be eaten, where's Eve? Eve's not even been created yet. And I think that's really quite poignant that we
clock that for the next lot of readings. So there's so much that could be discussed. I hope that you've got ideas that you can take and you can discuss them in other places, but that's enough from me. All right.